This is our tunnel port small block forward that we've been working on, chipping away at. Tunnel port heads are from 1968. They're rare. Not a lot of them floating around, and definitely not a lot of original parts for them floating around, especially gaskets. So we are at the point now where we need some intake manifold gaskets. So what I usually have to do is grab some Mr. Gasket gasket paper. This is 24 by 6 by 16th thick, and we basically just cut out whatever we need here. We measure, I usually just take it from here up to this line right here and let it tuck right in there, and we just start off by cutting out a rectangle that fits that section. So we'll get right on that. I'm going to get some measurements and then start laying everything out. Alright, so we're going to start off by, we'll go about 19 and let's see, I guess we can go 19 3/4. That should be, if it overhangs just a little bit, then we'll be okay. So 19 3/4, and we'll go, let's see, probably like 2 3/4. So 19 3/4 by 2 3/4. I'll scribe out some lines and we'll get our scissors and start cutting. Alright, so we got this far. We got some pieces cut out on both sides, and I've got those taped to the heads with some painter's tape. And now it's just a matter of taking a ball peen hammer and peening out all the edges where the water jackets are and where the ports are, and just getting us a nice imprint on the gasket so we can cut it out. Alright, here's the fruits of my labor. It took about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. Had the radio on, a couple songs play while I was doing this, but good ball peen hammer gives you a good outline of all the things that you need to cut out. So now it's just a matter of grabbing a real sharp X-Acto knife and having at it. So let me get that done. Alright, so got that done. Not bad for a white boy. Let me get these taped up, and let's set the intake down on it to see how close our flanges are now that we have a gasket thickness underneath. Alright, so we got our intake mocked up. I've actually got a bolt in each corner, and we got a really good picture down the port. So without the bolts in it, the manifold was sitting just a little bit high where I could see the top part of the intake port on the head. But on an engine like a small block Ford, you have the bolts pull the intake straight down, so when you do that, it pulls the whole intake down. Unlike an FE where the bolts are perpendicular, normal to the intake flange, when you bolt it down, it just kind of snugs everything up. Small block Ford, small block Chevrolet, I think small block Chevrolet, haven't worked on one in a long time, but definitely small block Ford, when you tighten the bolts up, it scoots the intake manifold down closer to the valley. So what this also allows me to do is to get an idea of what kind of gap I have underneath the intake manifold, our China wall gap. Here's our hole that we made for our scavenge point for our dry sump pump. So what I can do now is I can measure how far the intake manifold sits off this face of this block, get a good measurement, and then I can measure down from this face to down in the lifter valley where I want my tube to stop, and I can make a measurement and cut that tubing. Alright, so we had about 100 thousandths from our China wall to the bottom of our intake, and we've got 2.5 inches from the bottom this point right here to this point. So 2.5 inches. Everybody remember that, because I will forget. And then we'll probably let our tube hang about 1/4 inch off the bottom, and maybe a little bit more. Your oil pan gasket, or I'm sorry, your oil pan pickup is usually, 3/8 to something like that, 3/8, 7/16. So maybe we'll come up about 3/8 off the floor. So 2.5, and then a 3/8 distance. So let me do a little bit of math here, and I'll lay this out. Alright, so if my math is correct, I need to come up off of this face here, about 2.25 inches. So I've got that marked on my tube, and I'll just grab a tubing cover. That's easy for you to say. I'll grab a tubing cutter and cut this guy off. Bada boom, bada boom. So I'll get this affixed in here, and temporarily, and I'll make sure everything fits. And then when it comes time to put the intake on, we'll seal all this up with a little bit of sealant. Alright, so everything fits the way that it should. If you wouldn't even know it, or if you didn't know it, well, how's that supposed to go? So if you didn't know it wasn't supposed to be like this, you'd never know it. So we'll just use like a 90-degree AN fitting, probably a -6 or 8, probably -8, and just come off of here, run that along, and hook it up to our dry sump pump. And then we'll get a nice good scavenge from our lifter valley, and our lifter valley is plugged up so nothing can fall down on the crank and everything, and we will be in good shape. All I need to do now is get rid of these fittings here that somebody liberally added some orange dope to, and that looks nasty on my nice clean engine, so we'll have to get those out of there. Otherwise, we're done. So I should have some push rods coming probably towards the end of the week. When the push rods get here, the lifters will go in, the push rods will go in, the rocker arms will go on. I can set my valve lash, and hopefully the oil pan will be coming. The dry sump pump and the mounting brackets are on their way, and then I can kind of start to formulate a plan on what kind of clearances I'll have, what kind of room I'll have to hang my tank off of. That's always a little bit of a fiasco when you take an engine to the dyno, because you have to take the dry sump pump and the tank and everything with it. But the tank is not going to be mounted to the engine in the car, so you kind of have to do some temporary things to make all that work. But it's just one of those things. We'll get through it, and be on our way. Hope you guys are having a great week. Lots of videos in the past couple days. I've been getting a lot of stuff knocked out, and so making lots of progress. Dyno still is not fixed, so Mr. Ron's 363 has been sitting patiently waiting on a dyno day. Hopefully that'll come soon, and hopefully we won't get any nasty weather. I don't like running engines back and forth to the dyno when the temperatures are below freezing or at freezing. I don't have a topper on my truck, and the dyno is about 1.5 hours away, and there's always going to be some water in the block and everything. So sometimes we have to postpone dyno sessions just because I don't want to take any chances with $20,000 motor. So that's where we are. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on all this cool vintage small block Ford tonal port stuff and all the dyno sessions that we have coming up. And hit that like button while you're at it. Talk to you guys soon.